Palantir stock is about to move huge within the next 3 weeks. So I have a date I need you to mark on your calendar. We're going to talk about all that in this video. This is a stock that's up already 182% year to date. That is a massive return. You could have almost 3x'd your money if you bought shares at the beginning of this year when the stock was beaten down. So we're going to get into why the stock's going to move big, what date it's going to move big on, and how to position yourself to take advantage of this with Palantir stock. But first, if you're new here, thank you for being here. I'm Austin. I'm a co-owner at cloudbusinessweekly.com. I'm a stock market investor, and most importantly for this video, I'm a Palantir shareholder. I've been a Palantir shareholder for a very long time now, multiple years, and I'm a very proud shareholder. To any fellow shareholders out there, congrats. It's been an amazing year for us, and I'm looking forward to more upside in the future. Real quick, the channel's sitting at about 700 subscribers right now. We're chasing that goal of 1,000 subscribers in the short term. So if you're already subscribed, thank you so much for being back. If you're not subscribed, click that button and help us get to that goal. As a thank you for doing all that, here's a picture of both my cats, Millie and Luna. Millie's the gray one, Luna is the brown one. They thank you for subscribing. All right, let's get into this. So Palantir is already up 182% year to date. The stock's sitting at 18 bucks right now. There's three big reasons that the stock has been moving so much recently. One, I think, is a kind of a small reason, and that's that AI has kind of entered this big hype cycle. Number two, they've now posted 2 quarters in a row of GAAP profitability. So the company is profitable, money is hitting the bottom line. And this just adds to the two things that were already very, very good and positive for Palantir, the amazing balance sheet and the positive free cash flow statements. So now they've got those GAAP profits rolling in. The third thing that's got this stock moving up big is the potential for index inclusion as we move through the next few quarters. And since their market cap is so big, at a 38 billion already, the index that's most likely for them to be included in is the S&P 500, and that is the holy grail of index inclusion in the United States. This would cause institutional buying in Palantir, and institutional holding has been very low considering Palantir's business to business and business to government business model in the software space. It's been historically low. If we can get that S&P 500 inclusion, institutions would be required to go ahead and buy Palantir as they hold all the stocks in the S&P 500 in their ETFs, in their mutual funds, etc. But the day that Palantir is going to move big, and this could be either to the upside or to the downside, the day that Palantir is going to move massive is August 7th. That's Monday, August 7th, and it's going to be after market close. So somewhere around 4:05 p.m., have your eyes peeled to the market, check out Palantir. That's going to be their earnings release for Q2 2023. I can say with a very high degree of confidence that Palantir is either going to move massive to the upside or massive to the downside. I'm going to talk about what I need to see in order to assume that Palantir is going to move to the upside and what I would need to see in order to assume that Palantir is going to move to the downside. For Palantir to move up after this earnings report, they're basically going to have a perfect earnings call. And what that means is they're going to have to beat on revenues. We're going to have to see a 20% year over year sales growth. The 20 to 30% range would be a nice range to see Palantir in. We don't like to see it in the teens. And as it relates to revenue, they would need to raise guidance for full year 2023 in order for Palantir to have a nice upward move after these earnings. The last thing we need to see is definitely GAAP profits, but actually a beat on the bottom line, not just 1 cent or 2 cents of EPS, but maybe 2 cents, 3 cents, 4 cents, 5 cents of EPS. Any profit is a good profit, but if Palantir is just going to sit at that 1 cent or 2 cent EPS and earnings are not rising, that's not a positive catalyst for Palantir's stock price to move up in the long term, because stock price always follows earnings in the long term. The reason Palantir would need to report almost a perfect earnings call where they raise their revenue estimates, they beat revenue in Q2, and they beat EPS estimates in Q2 is because the stock is already up 182% year to date. It's pretty much priced for perfection. If they don't come in with a perfect earnings report, don't be surprised to see some downside in the short term. Even if it's a good earnings report and company fundamentals are improving, if it's not massive beats, we could still see some downside in the share price. Another thing that could help move the stock price up after August 7th is Alex Karp's commentary around artificial intelligence. If his commentary around artificial intelligence is overwhelmingly positive and he feels as though this AI hype right now is not just talk, it's actually going to lead to real numbers and real revenue increases, then the stock price is definitely going to move up in the short term. Now, for Palantir to move down after earnings really is not going to be that hard. If they come in line with revenue estimates and post exactly what's expected of them, I could see the share price moving down a little bit. If they don't increase their guidance for full year 2023, or way worse, they decrease their guidance for 2023, stock price is definitely going to move down in the long term. If we see flat EPS, no earnings, 0 cents of EPS, stock price is going to move down in the short term. And if we see losses, GAAP losses, we're definitely going to see some massive downside in Palantir, because that would destroy the story of potential index inclusion, potential S&P 500 inclusion. I don't think any of those three things are going to happen, but it's very possible. We need to wrap our head around the possibility that that could take place, even if it's a small possibility. So what do I think is going to happen with Palantir stock price on August 7th and August 8th and the following days? I do think Palantir is going to post record revenues. I think they're going to raise their 2023 guidance based mostly on AI. And I definitely think they're going to post a GAAP profit once again, making that 3 quarters in a row of GAAP profits for Palantir, keeping the story strong on index inclusion in the next 3 to 5 quarters with Palantir. Some things I'll be looking for in Q2 of 2023. I'm going to need to see cash from operations get somewhere around the 200 million range so that we can have a little bit of a margin expansion. Up sequentially from 36%, hopefully to 36.5, 37, 37.5, or 38% margin. I'm also looking for year-over-year revenue growth in the 20s, not in the teens. I would like to see an acceleration of revenue growth. The commentary over the last few quarters was that the government revenue, these big contracts, take a long time to get. And since they take a long time to get, growth is not perfectly linear, straight up in a straight line. Sometimes they'll have slightly lower quarters of growth, and then they'll have slightly higher quarters of growth. If that doesn't happen in Q2 of 2023, they're going to need to provide some commentary on when that boost of revenue is going to occur. So I either need to see 20% plus revenue growth year over year, or commentary on why they're not there and when we could expect that in the future. I'm also going to need to see US commercial revenue growth somewhere in the 30 to 35% range or higher than that for me to feel very, very good about Palantir over the short term. The long-term story is still intact, even if they're in the 20s in US commercial growth, but the higher the better right now as they're scaling the commercial side of the business. I also want to see US commercial customer count growth of around 50%. If they can stay in line with that 50% customer count number on a year-over-year basis, Palantir's in a great spot to take market share and expand into the commercial business-to-business side. And then the last thing I'll be looking for is the AIP, the artificial intelligence platform. I need to see deals inked, I need to see commentary around the AIP, and I need to see numbers that they expect from the AIP. They said that they've gotten more inbound calls, meaning people are calling them about their artificial intelligence platform in 1 month that they would normally get in 1 year just about the artificial intelligence platform alone. I need to know that that's not just hype and that's actually going to lead to real numbers. I don't want to be in a company that's putting a ton of investment into a platform that is not leading to any sales, because that means their R&D cost is going to go up, and if the revenue doesn't go up more than that R&D cost is going up, then that's a net loss for them. So I'm looking forward to hearing the commentary around the AIP, that artificial intelligence platform that they introduced just last quarter. I lied, there's actually one more thing I need to see. I really want to see 2 cents or higher of EPS. I like that they're hitting profits, but I want to see profits increasing over time. If they're just going to post 1 cent, 1 cent, 1 cent, 1 cent for 4 quarters straight, I'm not super excited about that. I want to see net income increasing over time to let me know that the long-term growth story is intact, because I know that stocks go where earnings go in the long term. If they have earnings flat, I can assume that the stock price is going to be flat in the long term. So seeing 2 cents of EPS or higher is going to be very, very positive. If we see that in Q2 of 2023, I'm going to get super excited about that. So what am I doing to prepare? I'm not doing any call option plays. I'm not selling the stock to try to buy in at a lower price. I'm not buying more shares straight up right now. I'm happy with my allocation right now. What I am doing is I'm keeping a decent amount of cash on the sideline, not a lot, but somewhere around 10 to 20% of my accounts in cash, so that I can be ready to buy up the dip. If Palantir dips in a substantial way, you can rest assured I will be a buyer of Palantir. Yes, I've hit my share goal. Yes, I've hit my allocation goal with Palantir, but this is a company I believe in enough that if we see a dip, or dare I say a crash in the stock price, I will be picking up more shares of Palantir, as I see a massive amount of potential over the coming years. For me to get shares at $15, $10 versus $12 versus $18 really means nothing if I believe the stock is going to $75 to $100 over the next 5 to 10 years. I'm staying away from short-term call options because I'm just not comfortable with the risk of potentially losing all of the value of those call options. And I'm definitely not selling my shares now to try to buy back in at a lower price. That's a loser's game. I've been a shareholder of Palantir for a very long time. I understand it's very volatile, and I also understand that the stock price doesn't always make sense. Sometimes there's bad news and the stock price moves up. Sometimes there's good news, the stock price moves down. That's just how it goes with these crazy growth names. I'm not interested in timing the market. I'm not interested in trying to jump in and out of a position. I'm more interested in seeing the company fundamentals improve over the long term. If there's any short-term pain, I will be a buyer of the stock. That's all I'm doing with Palantir right now. I want to know what you're doing out there. Are you buying? Are you selling? Are you doing any call option plays? Are you shorting the stock because you think it's going to go down? How are you hedging? Or are you just keeping cash on the sideline to buy more Palantir shares? I want to know about it. Let me know down there in the comments. Let's get some debate. Let's get some ideas going on down there. I appreciate you being here as always, and have a great day.